Hi, Veronica. How are you today?
Good morning, Dawn. I'm very excellent. It's so nice to see you, and look at that smile.
Absolutely. Well, see, it's good morning out in California, and it's good afternoon out here in Dallas, Texas. And
So what does it look like in the future for me? You're 2 hours ahead, right?
well, I don't know about the weather out there, but out here it is sunshine, bright blue skies, about 71, 72 degrees this afternoon. It's going to be heavenly.
Gorgeous. That is the perfect weather.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before we went on air, and
Huh?
we were talking a little bit about our emotions and how do we handle our emotions, how do we use our emotions both in a positive context, and how do we try to control them in negative context. And I think you had some thoughts on that, and I'm really looking forward to what you have to say about how we work through those things.
Oh, emotions are something else. They can be a beast all in themselves, can't they?
um,
When they're just like when they inflame and they're just huge. Oh, well, this week I have helped some clients to really bring them through a process of recognizing the emotions. And our emotions, they just want to be recognized. They don't want to be judged. They don't want a name put to them. They just want us to recognize them. And that's an amazing process. When I brought my clients through this process and helping them to recognize those emotions, and by the time I was done, they were like, "Oh my God!" The transformation was just beautiful. It was just amazing,
wow.
absolutely amazing. And uh,
So what do you think, what do you attribute their emotional struggles to? I mean, I know we don't ever want to get into specifics of anybody's life here or anything like that, but generally speaking, what do you think most people are struggling with when it comes to those emotions or different types of emotions and how to control those?
oh, they've given their power away.
What do you think they've given it to?
Uh, it doesn't really matter what they've given it to. They have not uh, um, taken the responsibility of keeping that power to themselves. So I mean, you can give your power away to someone you're talking to. You can give your power away to a complete stranger who's a bully. You, you can give your power away to a circumstance or a situation. So it doesn't matter what you give it away to. The fact of the matter is that you've given your power away, and once you've done that, then you're in this state where you find your snowballing effect, where it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you don't know what to do about it. And then you find yourself at the bottom of a well, looking up, like, oh my God, how did I get there?
So when I'm going to take some interpretive license, and then I can't wait to hear your feedback.
Okay, I'll do the best I can.
Sure. So when I think of giving my power away, in thinking of the word power, I think of I'm giving a level of my confidence away. I'm not feeling as emotionally empowered or as confident in a given situation or circumstance as I might ordinarily, depending on the environment or the person that I'm interacting with.
Hmm.
Is that kind of a fair interpretation
Oh,
of
it's
your
perfect.
context?
Yeah, it's perfect. Absolutely. So, are you looking for like some feedback on that?
Well, sure. If you have some to offer, and I know in your experience and in your wisdom, you certainly do. In terms of how do people give their confidence up? How do they give that power up? How do they give their strength up? And end up putting themselves in compromising positions, both emotionally, but also practically. I mean, because I think that when people do that, they tend to allow others to leverage them, and they end up losing out on all the opportunities that they could be creating for themselves.
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about is not having good boundaries. At least that's one aspect of it. When you develop good boundaries, then you're not letting that bully, overstep your bounds, and you've got a healthy idea on when to speak up and how to speak up. And even if you make mistakes, I mean, that's okay. But as long as you are speaking up and saying, hey, for instance, I had an example. Let me give this example because this will kind of drive it home to some people who live by pictures in their head. I'd gone to a local coffee place, after I dropped my daughter and grandson off at the dentist, and they were going to meet me back there at the coffee place. Well, they had walked in, and I had taken 2 chairs in the corner, and there were 2 more on the other side, and those were the cushy chairs. Well, after they came in, I told her where she'd be sitting, and she went and got herself and her son a hot chocolate. Well, this older gentleman comes in, and he sits down through the 3rd chair over from me, and he throws his keys on the chair that I'm saving. And I said, excuse me, but I'm saving that for my daughter. And he grabs his keys and goes, whatever, and he throws his keys on the other chair. And I thought to myself, well, it's okay for you to save a seat, but not okay for me? And here's where I gave away my power. I should have said to him, I was here first, and I have every right to save this seat for my daughter who is standing right over there getting her hot chocolate. And, you can just take your attitude and, stuff it.
Yeah, move on down the line. Keep on going.
Keep on going. Keep on going. But see,
absolutely. But you know what? We do these types of things, or we experience them sometimes in our marriages or in our family relationships with parents or siblings, and we don't appropriately stand up for ourselves and say, enough. Because we've given that up. We've given that, and it's not that we necessarily gave them anything, it's that we just quit.
Wait a minute. Back up a little bit. What do you mean by that? We quit on...
Well, what I mean by that is emotionally, some people get to a point to where they're just exhausted. They don't know what to do anymore, and they give up. They just quit, and when they do that, they surrender.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm following you now. Yeah, that's exactly
they surrender their confidence, and and you can see it in their body language, and they allow that other person to dominate them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I've seen this time and time again. I've seen it within my family, and in those relationships where one is stronger than another, and they make it known because they're bullies.
Yes.
Right? And see, here's the thing with the bully. If you don't allow a bully to be a bully, guess what? A bully won't be.
Right? Yeah, exactly. A bully can't be bullies actually, they respect someone who will stand up to them, who will get squarely, look at them squarely in the eyes and stand nose to nose and say, okay, I dare you. They back down real fast.
They do, because here's the truth of it. So you have one person who is emotionally struggling and has surrendered their power, who's surrendered their confidence, who's surrendered their strength in themselves to this other individual who's behaving like a bully. Well, the bully has their own set of insecurities, fears, and issues.
Oh, hence why they're a bully, yeah. Yeah,
that's why they're a bully, because a person who's secure with themselves would not take advantage of that vulnerable person because they don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great example, and that happens all the time. But let me bring in another scenario. A child who is raised in that situation, how do they ever know what's not healthy if that's all they've ever known is being controlled from the time that they were born? Mm-hmm. And that was my situation. I actually had to... It reached a point of what do you call that? I can't think of the word. It just reached that point where it was just going to blow, I just had so much anger. And I remember I was on the conversation on the phone with my mom, and she said, "Honey, how come we cannot have one conversation without you yelling at me?" And I said, I don't understand it. I don't understand why I'm so angry. And I called out to God and I said, "You're going to have to reveal this to me." And it was a couple years later that the Lord sent someone into our lives to help me out of that process. And it was really interesting in how he did it. He didn't reveal anything to me. He just began to teach me the truth of God's word and let me come to my own conclusions. And that's powerful.
That is powerful. That is so powerful. When I work with people, the one thing and just knowing you, I can sense this of you as well.
What's that?
I don't, as a general rule of thumb, expose and directly tell people what to do to fix their problem. Because it's so much more powerful if we can take them down a road where they can learn it and experience it for themselves. So when it comes to that self-realization of who I really am, then I can choose to change. And I can choose to deal with those emotions and let those emotions escape so that I can start changing who I am as a person. But until you get to that point, if somebody's just telling you, most people aren't in a position to hear it.
Yes. Do as I say, not as I do. That never works, does it?
Never.
Yeah, exactly right. And that old adage is true. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's better to just let them realize that they're thirsty on their own, and they'll know what to do.
Don't know what to do. They just need a safe place. That's really what they need. They need a safe place where they can get that release. And they can get those burdens and those monkeys to start coming off of their backs so that they can start that emotional healing process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to look different for everybody. It's going to be different. But at the end of the day, if you're not learning how to overcome the challenges that you're emotionally struggling with, then you're going to get caught in this repetitive cycle. And the cycles don't get easier and they don't get better. Every time it comes around and it goes to the next one, it just gets harder and harder until, like your own experience, you have a point of no return where you can't have a conversation with the people that you love the most because you're not angry at them, you're angry at you. Is that fair?
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is.
So we're kind of up on our time today, but with that said, this was a great conversation. This was fabulous. For all of you folks who are going to watch today, my heart for you is if you're struggling with something emotionally, reach out to Veronica, reach out to myself, get some help. Don't stay in isolation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the worst thing that you can do for yourself because you need a mechanism to release that.
Mm-hmm. And both Don and I are a very safe place. So please do not hesitate to call. Do not hesitate to send us a message on Facebook, find our websites. Don is donpurdom.com. I am thesoulwhispers.com. And you can send us a message, and we'll get back to you right away, especially if you say, 911, emergency, I need help right now. We'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Veronica, and thanks so much to everyone watching in. By the way, jump on our Facebook pages or send us a Facebook message or an email, something, and let us know what you would like us to talk about. What are some things you're going through? Of course, we'll keep everything completely anonymous, and no one will need to know a thing. But if you have a topic that you would like us to talk about, message us and let us know. We're here to serve you and give you the best information possible to help you in your journey.
And and I'd also like to request that if you've got some feedback, some great feedback, please leave that for us too, because that would help to encourage someone else who's really thinking about getting in touch with us, and they just need that one little testimony to say, oh my God, that's me. I want to feel like that.
Yeah.
So we'd appreciate that.
Well, great. Thanks so much, Veronica, for your time today. As always, we will see you again next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific. And until then, thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Don.